Yeah.
So welcome everybody to the post-lunch coverage, the stretch run of the games of the British Matchplay Scrabble Championship 2018. We are having some repeats now. The players are just rehydrating. Apparently it's very hot in the other playing room, and this one is nice and cool. So round 23, apparently we have 3 players tied on 16 wins. It's getting intense. And we're going to be watching 2 of those players now fight it out to see who can maybe sit in the lead after this round. We've got Phil Robertshaw and Shin. Both are, if I remember correctly, the last 2 national champions of this country. Someone correct me before I get it wrong. Yeah, I'm correct. There we go. I was there when both of these things happened, and I don't remember them happening, which is a bit problematic. But anyway, for the last 3 rounds of the tournament, we will have our wonderful orange-loving Met fan commentating, Mr. Jason Keller. Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, Team Nachi.
Team Narchi, hashtag. Should I be, I guess one thing I didn't get technically, should I technically have a Twitch window open?
No, you don't need a Twitch window open, it's fine.
Okay.
The players will start when they're ready, and I will let you introduce yourself further, and we can get on with it.
Well, I am just off of a 3rd place finish at the North American Scrabble Championships. It's my best finished ever. I'm hoping to retain some of that luck for future tournaments. But anyway, it is about 9 a.m. Eastern time in the US. So for those of you watching from the US, welcome to breakfast at the BMSC. And so I see we've got some racks coming in. It's Phil to start with what looks like it should be a pretty nice lucrative bonus to start. And so I'm seeing we got things like Abreact, Cabaret, Bearcat, just off of that, if that is indeed the rack. So I'd assume with this sort of rack, I would take a bunch of time to just run through the alphabet here, sure that there are other things that I'm just not thinking of anything at the moment. It is just before 9 a.m. And as someone who generally is not awake at 9 a.m. and this is why I can actually come to you today. But I see, yes, bracket. Well, definitely to maximize the, definitely double probably the C. I don't know if I'd take too long on this rack. If there was anything that's kind of interesting. Oh, Phil's play opens vertically. Okay, well, we'll excuse him for the vertical opening, but Cabaret looks like it's gone down. And so now Austin, well, scoring looks like it will, looks like it will get started, but maybe not as quickly as Phil's scoring started. Because there's definitely XI, just very simple, either at I3 or I7. I'd definitely consider, given the rest of the rack, I'd consider axial at H2. Something like bollocks. So a lot of options here. But one thing, I know the setup's not great. I wish I could see the reactions going on here now. I believe Phil's picked up kind of an iffy sort of rack to follow. But as I said, because let's see, coaxial is 36. That might be my choice just for turnover and for I realize that it does slot the row one, the four letter to the triple with the L. But I think that most of the other leaves, Coxel is interesting. He's played Boxla. Okay, it's reasonable. And now Phil has two I's and two O's. And Austin's got a decent pickup getting an S there. So then let's see. So I'd say this is going to be an interesting immediately. How my connection's doing, nothing immediately jumps out at me. Here, there's, well, think something short like there's definitely something like Iopanoic. Aha. Yeah, that's a tough spot. sometimes I'd say, and it's interesting because I did come up with IO immediately, but maybe having a little bit more time to look over this rack. Obviously, not an obvious spot, but and IO has been played. Okay, so things going a bit quickly. I mean, the one thing about IO to me is that I'd feel like I'd try to look for something a little bit different because I feel like that two tile fish can run into trouble perhaps a little bit easily. But we'll see. So Austin has that S. Funny, when I saw the draw come up, I thought to myself, well, Phil's going to have another shot at Iopanoic. But let's see. AALIVOS for Austin. Again, well, something short like, that actually IO blocked Variolas. So obviously Phil was just thinking that, Austin has Variolas, so let's block that. So yeah, again, a couple of obviously Phil's first rack was pretty straightforward, but right now the players are encountering some more challenging things. Say VAR, definitely, if Austin wants to go that route. But again, I would say that maybe the leave isn't quite there. There's vocal along the top to F. But again, AOS, not the greatest leave here. It would have been interesting if we had the bonuses spotted here, but Aviso, Aviso, it's a nice leave. I think, again, it's kind of runs into just perhaps giving a little too much back. It's interesting. Okay, I hear some tile shuffling. So Austin has played Avo. That's a reasonable play to try to set up his S. Perhaps catch a bonus right away. Makes things nice and volatile. And he's failed to pick up a 7. But let's see. So Phil is now one tile off of Iopanoic. Right. Right. Oh, wow. And he's quickly played Naui. Okay. And so failures with that. So failures with that rack. I'm not seeing anything at the moment that scores here. Rather, I should say, not seeing anything that bingos here. But I could be missing something. Right. No B for bar flies. For sale, of course. Of course, through the O. That should be the play, even though that's opening up the O column for potential playback. That should be the clear play here. Yeah. So one thing I do as my job, I tutor students all over the world. So sometimes when I share things with students, the lasers with four cells clearly best here, and Austin has played it, so he's now at 11, and Phil has Paolo plus ER. I'd be looking for something. Nothing. The O goes off the I, but not sure if there's anything there that, I guess, something like loop seems pretty strong here. Just from 07. One thing, looking at Paolo as well, but not seeing anywhere for that to play for any sort of productive score. Whoa. So Looper. Okay, that's definitely something where, yeah. Okay, so Phil has played Lou, and that's definitely a play where the decision of whether to play long or short is preserving that PARE leave, which I know that I would say, well, he's trying Aperies. Okay, it does play. So, yeah, so though that is definitely an issue of, well, do I go long and do I take the points, or do I try to preserve my rack for a bonus? And it seems that Phil has drawn his bonus. And in fact, it does play into more than two spots. So here, Austin has quickly played Coke. That looks good. Now Phil, I assume, will play Aperies off of For Sale. And Austin has a pretty nice rack for scoring here. Although, looking at it, I guess, well, Austin will have Czar, perhaps leaving A. But Aperies at Perez as well. Aperies is what's been played. Phil has scored it as 74. Okay. So Austin now to play down 65. has Czarite. There is Czar for 35. It seems that obviously Austin's going to take a little bit of time to perhaps see, and not that I see something right away, but there are a couple of lines that may look good for scoring. I also see Kaz. Kaz is 39 at f8. Not really sure if that's the right way to go here. It does sort of block off the left side of the board. So thinking, right, Czar, no craziest on the board. So Zafir, oh, that's kind of an obvious thing that I missed. It's on the upper right-hand corner, very strong leave. Phil has the second blank, but he's got UW. Austin needs an S for switcher, a Y for witchery. Yeah, so interesting rack here for Phil. Ideally, I'd like to get rid of both the U and the W here, but that might not be possible. Just perhaps a drop of something like Wan or Worn that breaks up the W and the U and gets rid of at least one of the other two problems on Phil's rack, which is that he has two N's and two T's, would perhaps be a thought here. I don't think that rack does not look like it's going to bonus here. There is also, I guess, the N could be used for neighbories, but unwit for 9. Interesting. So it's, as I said, interesting play. And one thing, it does set up a juicy S line here. So a little bit aggressive there. We'll see if that works for him. Looks like Phil has missed here. So Austin has Witcher. There is, let's see, it's still early in the morning. I mean, there is something like Witch. If Cesar del Solar is watching, Austin could also play Weck. But I would have a feeling that that would come off the board. So let's see, Witch definitely plays on row 11. Of course, be looking for something coming from the A down, especially with the high scoring tiles in the rack, would give him an opportunity to, of course, score a lot and basically put this game even. You know, they'd be pretty level if Austin has a 45-point play down from the A. But it doesn't look like there's anything from the A that goes down. And we have, Aikir. That's, aha. Something is not right here. And part of it's in my brain also, actually. Yeah, if I saw it, I'd probably go with F6 Kruth. because how often do you get to play that? Yes. But yes, how often do you get to play Kruth? Actually, probably not the right play. Well, I mean, it's okay. But yeah, I'd say Akir probably is. I mean, yeah, there are a couple ways to go with this rack. War is suggested, could be. Of course, that's leaving it up a little bit, not seeing the unseen pool so well, but but thinking there are definitely things that do bingo, but I think there are also a few kind of landmines in there. But something like Cithern could come up if Austin fishes the W, or Itchier or Hitcher. So there are possibilities, and that's something that I guess does come into consideration here. And Austin has played Wither. Okay. So Wither, so Austin within a point here. And Austin has peached his rack. Looks like Phil again just struggling a little bit. And I see Wither. Well, interestingly, Austin has traded one S up for another, but Wither's a good play to just take out that volatile S line with him not holding one. Phil is on a rack that could use one fewer T or one fewer N and one more vowel still. Right? This rack looks like nothing. Of course, now there is still an S line available for Phil. Looking for something like perhaps tan, just to get rid of the N and the T. It's ooh. And he's gone with Dint for 9. Okay. And so now Austin has peached, which does not play with anything on the board, but I feel, and wow. So just Phil could use a vowel here, and there's still enough of them out there. So Austin with peached will probably move ahead on this turn. Yes, WA is not a word. Immediate thing that would pop out for me here is Pechan to the to 12A, and then I'd realize WA is not a word, so we have to keep looking here. I'm wondering if Austin maybe realizes that Phil's probably on the second blank. That's something that I'd probably look at this point, because just of how Phil has been playing, just in terms of playing off a couple of tiles for a few points there. I mean, obviously, it tells you that Phil doesn't have vowels. It's the sort of thing that personally I get a little paranoid about and would be like, oh, he's probably sitting on the blank, which Phil is in this case. Peached. Yeah, Peach does play for, wow, interesting So unwitched for 40 is definitely stylish there. But yeah, peach and cheap up in the up in that F column, I think just positionally are pretty nice. Kind of don't do anything to the board. Cheap was placed and then removed. Okay. Yes, peahen definitely I think is too aggressive as well. But peach each, yeah. I think, and so peach has been played. So Phil needs like some disconnected vowels for entombment. That's what that's my first thought there. And Austin continues to draw vowels. Again, this is another situation where, again, clearing an N is pretty important here, perhaps to get that bonus down. If Bono were a word, I would perhaps think about that at I1, but it's not. But let's see. Yeah, this is, there's, this is, again, this is just a pretty tough sort of rack. The lines are there. It's just a question of kind of figuring out what's going to balance this rack and give the most likely, the most likely result, that's going to most likely result in a bonus soon, because the scoring on Austin's end has started, and you know that with Austin, the scoring never stops. So Phil's got to get that bonus down soon. That's why I'd say the B and the N. This is maybe even, it's a tough call here. I mean, one thing that pops into my mind here, and we'll see what's going on. One thing that pops into my mind here is that maybe even a short exchange top man is, I guess, yeah, top man is kind of nice. I don't like leaving the B though. The B is not a friend and often invites its unwanted friend, the V, along. Yeah. So again, just been a couple of just jammy, challenging racks for Phil. And he's gone for bone. I think he just needs a vowel. And has Phil picked up a vowel? He's picked up one vowel, and it's a good vowel. Yeah. So Phil's picked up nutmeg and a blank, which actually be girded. Wow. So yeah, played very quickly. Of course, didn't even really have time to look at that because I was focused so much on what's happening. But teg, no, I'm saying tegmentum, but that's definitely. So Austin's picked up the cute nutmeg and blank. So one thing still, so still Phil has still a few lines to go off of here. One thing, because I'm not seeing any bingos right now, but just something like germ maybe, especially with the eyes out, even though I'm not a fan of playing for ING, that's definitely a possibility if he doesn't see any bonuses here. Augment Mutagen. Mutagen doesn't play. Right. Oh, Tegument. Tegument. I was thinking Tegmentum. So, yeah. See if Phil spots Tegument. Because it is there. So Phil looking deep in bonus thought, can he get it? We're looking for the E. And so then if he gets it, we're in for a pretty exciting last couple of racks. Actually, even if he doesn't get it, as I said, the thing that I would see is playing something to 8A and opening up the columns to potentially bonus to the triple. And Germ has been played. So still within striking distance, and Austin has a not so picking the Q in the spot. There is QIT immediately. There is Kintar. That's easy enough. I guess that was pretty automatic there. And now Phil again. Can he pick it up this time? So I'm thinking about this. Should be something to the ING. Right, just, yeah, can we all see that? He has picked up an ING bingo here. And so he picks that up, will be pretty much level pegging here. Because he has outlying. He sees that it should be 86. That will actually give him a 2-point lead. And as I said, we'd be level pegging here. Unguilty. That's relevant of American. Or, well, what certain Americans would claim is probably not true. Outlying has gone down. And so we are in for an interesting end here. 349 to 347 in Phil's favor. Austin so Austin, a little bit of a tempo ahead, a little bit of a kind of iffy rack here. And Phil's picked up the 2 S's, but again, still kind of having vowel trouble there. Yeah. J's still in the bag, which could also be perhaps could perhaps be very vital. Aperies is gone. Right, not much on this board. doesn't look like this board is very friendly to the J. Something like, yeah, wouldn't want to look at something like YE. This is a sort of position where I'm looking at the board and I'm thinking there's not really, I mean, this board seems pretty dead, just in terms of scoring spots. It seems like something like even just, and the J's still in the bag, and Austin's looking at one vowel out there. So yeah, just looking at this, trying to think of what might make sense here, because I'd imagine Austin's looking at this and perhaps thinking that what he wants to do, I'd say, is to try to just go out ahead here, and score sufficiently so that he's still got his win here. He does have. It looks, yeah. I was gonna say YE looks like it might be the highest scoring play, but I don't believe that it's the best play. Mine was also something in between, doesn't do much to the board. Certainly doesn't open up any other scoring opportunities, does leave that YE. Austin has played YE. And so Austin has J. If I'm thinking about this correctly, don't believe that Phil has anything. He's got something like he can play studs off of. No, he can't play studs off of that. Never mind. Yeah, I guess there's really nothing. One thing about that is that it scores for Austin, and it really, Phil doesn't have anything that he can play off of there. And so this is going to be just kind of a bit more for Phil to kind of figure through. He could play something like a vid setting up fuss, but that's actually not going to work because Austin could block that with the E. Perhaps stud, making on wits, but that also, the problem there is the V. Because, well, I mean, Phil would have V's off of there, but then he has the F. Right. If there is an out into to be had here, that would be, he's played fuss that way. The problem here, fuss for 40. So soft fuss. Yeah, I mean, okay, fuss leaves that div, but fuss for 40 is going to leave div, but Austin has something like jig to block that, and dev goes there. Aha. Right. So though this depends a little bit on Phil being able to find fusts, play fusts, and also realize that unwit does take the S here. Fusts should be the play that wins here. Or is there vid? So vid is a little bit better because it blocks jig and still leaves fusts. But so Phil has a couple of wins here. But again, do you know how much time Phil has left on his clock? Yep, 4 minutes. So a little bit of time to think. But yeah. Also, right. Phil probably does think that he has 3 fewer points because of his missed score. But let's see. Fusts will take Phil to 389, and we can certainly play out. He has played fusts. Ooh. And I'm getting some feedback. So we have a hold on fusts, or perhaps on unwits, or perhaps on earth. Yeah. So Phil has his outs. Right, so jig, just getting rid of the G, is not going to do it here. Ju there still doesn't, I mean, well, so one thing, if Phil plays vid or div, that's 27, and still, even with that 3-point error, still, I think that that he's probably realized that he's got the win. Yeah, it looks like Jig or Ju would be the plays here. Obviously, with Phil having 2 outs, the J has to go. And so yeah, Ju is a few more points, but Jig does block to Dev. Jig does make Phil play Dev to go out if he's seen that, and I'd imagine he has. So is Austin still holding this, or is Austin just kind of figuring out what? Okay, no hold. Okay, so we're going to see, I'm sure the calculation, Jig is 22. So 22 and 7. Ju is right. Ju is 1924, but gives back more. So Jig is the better play here. I mean, I guess there is still something like mine can still be played, but again, that's just leaving the J on the rack. I guess mine as a play for the scoring, and just in case some silly mistake happens, allows Austin to go out with Ju. I don't know how likely that is. There's still plenty of time for Phil to just lay down the 2 tiles properly. Had that happened to me at the NASC, where I just left myself a nice scoring play, thought I was losing. My opponent made a play that made ZAT, and all of a sudden I won a game by 9 points that I had no business winning. So there is that consideration as well. But looks like Phil is going to survive this one. I've been noticing Phil's board shots and Facebook pictures. And there has been a lot of stay lucky on those. And Phil has, it seems, managed to stay lucky. And and I'm hearing through my feed, I don't know if anyone else is hearing that, but I just heard a little bit of ticking that sounded like maybe a countdown clock. So, okay. Okay, we will. Now I'm getting a ton of feedback as well. So we're just being made to wait. The scoring will have stopped momentarily. Yeah. Yeah. And one thing to note, yeah, just because I'm the sort of person who does look at these things, if I'm not mistaken, Phil has drawn both blanks and all 4 S's in this game. So it's a valiant effort by Austin, but it's going to come up just short, barring a mistake. So Austin is going to, has he put it down? Well, I heard good game, it seemed. So Austin has played mine. And Dev has been played. So Phil Robertshaw wins this game, is now, should be on the lead. So final score officially is 404 for Phil. And wait, no, 415 for Phil. Have they agreed upon it? So, given score, they've agreed upon 404 to 395. Mm-hmm. So Phil stays on the lead lap. Austin drops a game behind. As I said, it was a pretty valiant effort from Austin here. And we will see how. What? Oh, okay. Hmm. Oh, sure.